No, call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, May 15th at 5:15. Joanne?
Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Here. Any changes to the agenda tonight? Nope. Any public requests? We will open public requests.
Raul Travieso, 1037 West Royal Palm Road. I just wanted to let the commissioners know that we did have a cadre of folks show up for the city council workshop last week. We had about 20 people. However, we picked the wrong day to go to a workshop. The CRA meeting before that was almost 3 hours long. And so at the end of the day, it was my wife and I and two other folks that hung out to for the whole length of the meeting. I had an opportunity to speak, and I felt that the city council was receptive to what we were talking about. And all we wanted to do was ask respectfully for their support to move the patch-free tennis and pickleball project along. I felt like we made some headway, and I don't know how that's going to transpire, but anyway, we made our statement, and so I want to thank you.
Well, good for the city council to hear from you too. So thank you.
My name is Harold Chaffee. I live in the Boca Chica. I'd like to see, I know they're going to make some kind of
Address, Harold.
420, 6200 Northwest 2nd Avenue, Unit 420. All right, I just want to, I know you're going to do an update on with Miller Lake or the east side. If we could open up for discussion, not discussion, but just maybe questions or something after you do the talk or the presentation or update, whatever you want to call it.
Board. Yep. Okay, sure.
In case we have questions. Yeah.
Yep, we'll do that right after the update before Patrick Park pickleball.
Okay. I wish, listen, I want to wish everybody a happy Mother's Day also.
Okay, anybody else here who wants to get up and speak before we go online? No? Okay, online. We will close public requests and we'll do approval of the minutes of the previous board meeting held on May 1st. Joanne?
To approve.
Sorry, Joanne.
Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang, Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to regular business. Boca Chica master plan update.
Thank everybody for coming tonight. We unfortunately, our big screen is not working, so we're going to get a replacement for that. So there's nothing pretty to look at on the wall, but we do have some updates. Some of you may have seen these updates from Mr. Chaffee. He sends out emails. We anticipate having all the environmental assessments finished at Boca Chica by the end of this month. You guys have probably seen Miller Lake out there on golf carts and even bicycles riding around doing environmental assessments. They were doing some extended testing and that should be complete. We'll get a report following the completion of that testing. They'll be meeting with some of the mountain cyclists that you guys saw at previous meetings here out on the northeast side. They are going to set up a Zoom meeting with them, I think, at the end of this week, and then hopefully meet them out on site to talk about the trails. There's some talk of how to make those trails similar to ones that are used in other parks around here. That was brought up at a previous meeting. We are waiting for some of the design work to finish up once the environmental report is done, because as you look at environmental, any areas that may need mediation or things like that, you would move the trails around and assess it as we go. So we're just waiting on those reports to be finalized so they can finish the design of the trails. We anticipate seeing some of the architectural renderings for the maintenance building, the restroom buildings, the shelter areas. We anticipate seeing those by the end of this month as well. So that'll be good to see those and start seeing how that's going to fit into the overall plan. We have an RFP out for the racket sports facility that is out. We have a pre-bid meeting here on May 17th. That's open to the public. If you guys want to come here and see who comes, who's interested in building something there, who has questions about it, anybody's welcome to attend that meeting as well. It's at 10 a.m. and we'll have myself here. We have our legal counsel will be here as well. You won't see Jacob, you'll see Sam here, but we'll be here at 10 a.m. on May 17th in this room. And then some new items tonight for Boca Chica that I'm here to get direction from these guys on is the Lake Worth Drainage District. There is a connection to the Lake Worth Drainage District on the property that we would need for some of the drainage. So we need to go through an application process. There is absolutely no impact financially to the condo owners and no impact to this district to annex into the Lake Worth Drainage District because we're a special taxing district. It just enables us to use those canals for stormwater retention drainage on the design. So just looking for direction tonight on that from the board. Okay. And just, I'm sorry, let me just give a few more details, sorry. Before we open it up. So we've confirmed that there's no financial impacts to anybody. The alternative is to disconnect. There's currently a connection. I think it's the L40E or something like that, but there's a connection under, it would involve ripping up 2nd Avenue to disconnect and then build our own. And obviously that would elongate this whole process. So by annexing into the Lake Worth Drainage District, it enables us to use those canals, continue using them as they have been used. And our consultant has recommended moving forward with that annexation process. So I'm looking tonight for some guidance from the board to go ahead with that process. It's an application process. We go before the Lake Worth Drainage District Board, and then they go through the process. And then we would memorialize all of this in an agreement as far as the financial impacts.
Madam Chair, it seems pretty obvious to me that the annexation of us going to the Lake Worth Drainage District seems to be the appropriate thing to do. There's no cost to us. There's no cost to the community. We don't have to tear up 2nd Avenue. And just for the purpose of expediting this, I'd like to make a motion that we put forth a request to annex into the Lake Worth Drainage District from our property on the east side.
Second.
Is it Lake Worth Drainage District annexing our property or us annexing their, I don't quite understand that.
Would be, I mean, Jacob can weigh in. We're annexed into that Lake Worth Drainage District, but we wouldn't pay the taxes that most people pay when they're part of that.
Yeah, correct. And Commissioner, it would essentially be an expansion of their boundaries to include the property that comprises our parcel.
Joanne?
Commissioner Engel? Yes. Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright? Motion passes.
Now we have the naming of the park topic. Miller Lake submitted some names, which is what we tasked the consultant with doing. The names that they submitted to the board to weigh in on were Crossroads Park, Yamato Park, Pineapple Park, Boca Colina, Boca Central, Peace Ridge, Sandy Oaks, and then we had a write-in suggestion for Four Corners. So these were all the names that were thought about. There's history that was researched on the property as far as how the property used to be for farming and what took place historically on that property. So these were the names that came up as they researched that information. We did a poll here amongst the board to get some of the top names. And then I'm just looking for direction of how you guys would like to proceed on the naming process. They want to whittle this down to the top 3 and then go from there. Or if you'd like to have more suggestions from Miller Lake or table the whole naming thing until we get further into the design, I'm fine with that too. It's really up to you.
Do you want to talk?
No, go ahead, Fred.
You know, it occurred to me that looking at the way that the city has named parks in the past, that we're kind of off base with the way the names, and of all the names on there, I really didn't find one that really hit the nail on the head. And the other issue too is that maybe we're premature. I mean, it could be that we name the east side something and then the west side's developed totally differently, and then we'll wish we had not been so presumptuous as to put forth a name. I would personally want to either send it back to Miller Lake for, some more options and not to be so funky with the names that they put down here. And let's give them another shot at it. And that would be my personal opinion. I don't want to make a motion because I don't want to shut down any conversation, but that's kind of the way I feel about it.
Would have to agree with Bob. I think this is, the naming right now is a little bit premature. I'd like to get some more public input. I'd like to get input from city council. So maybe we should just table it for the time being till we're further into the process. And we have an idea of what's going to be happening, not only with property that we own, but with the city side of the property as well.
I did speak to Brianne today. Could we find out how the city goes about naming their parks? I mean, there are a myriad of parks that have, was it Blazing Star or something like that? How they came to be? Did they get public input, or did they just do a city council? Did the city manager do it? I'd just be interested in how the city went about naming Spanish River Park, et cetera. So if you could find out.
And different, but I do like the idea of community input on it. And I guess I would say there's a couple of the names around there. I wouldn't want it confused with other areas. So like Yamato, is Yamato Scrub. I think you got to have a unique name that is in alignment with existing park names such as Sugar Sand, Patch Reef, Silver Palm, whatever it is. It would be best Red Reef. It needs to be kind of somewhat consistent with it, but a few of the names are okay. Maybe there's more input out there that would be helpful. So I like the idea of a community thing, but I wouldn't wait around for it. It's going to be done. So you might as well get it, keep it in motion. And I think it's best to have a name so you know what you're talking about with the designers and everyone else, and it kind of, goes forward.
On naming it or further discussion tonight. I guess we'll go back to Miller Lake and see if they have any other suggestions. And then in terms of public input, how would you like to go about doing that? For those of you who,
And-
tonight, if you guys have any input on the naming of the, you could
Have
give
them
that
send the
after.
names to Craig.
So we're looking for names just to get some direction from Middle Lake. We're looking for names that are more like Sugar Sand was named after the sand that looks like sugar in the park. El Rio is named because that's the trail over there. So we're looking for something that's indicative of the area.
Well, I think there's a couple of ones on here that are indicative of the area. Pete's Ridge, which is one of them, Sandy Oak.
It's very sandy out there. I can attest to that.
Pineapple Park was after the what they used to grow in the area.
Yes.
So, there are some names on here, but obviously nothing has jumped out. Maybe once we get some visuals of what Miller Lake is going to be putting out there, maybe that'll spark something as well. So we'll hold off for now and talk to Miller Lake a bit more and go from there.
We are talking about using some of the history that they researched to put signage along the trails so that people can learn more about how the property was used in the past and things like that as they go on their walks. So the direction is to go back to Miller Lake, ask for additional names that align with more what's on the property.
Let me just ask you a question.
Yes.
Kids are really inventive and creative. What about putting something out at the schools to have the kids submit, at the high school or the elementary school level, or is that getting too much in the weeds?
Because there's only 2 weeks left of school. Are we okay waiting till next year?
How about Coyote? You want that? Yeah? Just kidding.
Miller Lake, get some additional names that are more in line with what's on the property, plant life and trees, and see if something comes from that. And then maybe get top 3 that you guys love and we'll put it out to the public to weigh in on. Okay. Current list of names, we're scratching all of them. We're going to keep the current list. Okay.
So that's end of the update, correct?
That's my entire update. We're gonna have a lot more coming this month. I know everybody wants to see more images. We'll get a whiteboard replaced too for the next one. We are meeting with Middle Lake again this week twice to talk about where we are with the environmental and where we are with the drawing. So as soon as we get stuff, we'll get that to Mr. Chaffee, because he's emailing it out. And if anybody else wants to get on a list, you can drop by here or put your email on that list up there and we'll make sure we get it out to you. But that's my update on Boca Chica.
So we're gonna open it up back to public comment. If you guys have any comments on anything that was discussed tonight.
Say my name again. Harold Chaffee, 6200 Northwest Second Avenue. A couple of things. First of all, the agreement with the Lakewood Drainage. Does that because they require a definite setback from the canal. That basically you can't build them, use. Does that interfere with anything that we're going to be doing?
That's why we want to move forward with that. So then we can finish the design of the trails. We would have to build setbacks anyway from them. So we'll go along with their requirements, but we'll go through the application process, get an agreement put together that will define all those things. That's kind of why we were waiting to finalize the design of the trails and some of where these placements will be for some of these structures.
Because I know that they widened quite a lot of them. And also took up X amount of feet from the canal. So they can get in there and actually, clean them up and keep them up.
Yes.
The other thing too is I could send out something with Kickoff and Boca to basically get some kind of suggestion as far as the park name. It would be a people involvement, Not that it's going to be, not that you have to use any we pick now.
But when we
It's
get
just a
our
name. It's-
top names, we would take you to send it out there and get all the responses back.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Hello? Yeah, good. Larry Milky, Boca Chica, 6200 Northwest Second Avenue. I've spoke before at some of these meetings and with the city council when the mayor was present. My concern is safety, and I didn't hear anything so far about a buffer from the park to the condos, anything like that. What do we got planned?
In our original scope of design, what we charged Middle Lake with doing when they started the design process, it's a 30-page document, but we did have, one of the priorities was the safety and security. There's going to be a lot of buffering around all these amenities between the condo buildings, between the canals. So that's definitely a priority as they design it. And when we start to look at the structures and we start to look at the actual designs, that's one of their focal points is security.
Security is on the table because we don't
Absolutely.
seem to see any of that. Or
It
like
was,
you just gave a report and it was nothing about.
well,
It was about the sewer pipes or whatever.
Long in the design to implement those security features in it. So those will come as the design moves forward.
Oh, okay, as long as it's still on the table.
absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
yes.
All right, I'll start over. Sil Ciliberti, 6200 Northwest Second Avenue. There's South Park and a TV show. There's Central Park in New York City. In your district, you couldn't get further north, and this is your baby. And I was suggesting North Park, just like in the YouTube video. Maybe we didn't take too many things. Maybe some things were implemented with the racket sports facility going on the other side. Whatever the case may be, I'm just throwing that out there.
Can you hear me? Hi, Marvin Lycan, 6500 Northwest Second Avenue. What's the plan for the intersection at Northwest Second Avenue and Jeffrey? There's, I've seen the plans, but those properties there, there's nothing that seems to be identified. What actually is in the works for those, that intersection?
Okay, so on our project, on our conceptual master plan, on the southeast side, it would be this racket sports facility that we have an RFP out. We're looking for somebody to finance it, design it, build it, the whole nine. And then on the northeast side, on the south side of the northeast, or the south end of the northeast side, we are looking at putting a maintenance building in the back, and then there'll be some additional parking. A lot of that, we're waiting to hear back from, the city is going through a process of extending Jeffrey Street and connecting it, and they're calling it the North Boca Revitalization Project or whatever. So there may be a connection there to Dixie Highway, and that road may open up. So
Oh, so that's still on the table.
that's still on the table with the city. They have an application in. I think they're expecting to hear back on that sometime in the fall.
Okay.
So that could impact things as we go forward.
Mhm.
So, but right now, those are the plans for us: is the racket sports facility on the southeast side, a maintenance facility on the other side, and then the trails would loop around towards that side.
Now, the northernmost parking lot, how is that, the entrance going to be? It's going to come off of, I guess, Northwest or at that circle at Country Club.
Yeah.
Uh,
So there's an easement that comes through there that came with the property with the country club. So
Right.
there's a little roadway there that we have an easement on. That's what we would use to access that parking. I'm really sorry we don't have it up on the whiteboard of all the days for this. It's been going strong for 10 years and then it died. But we don't have it up on the board. But anyway, there is an easement road there that would come down, and that's where you would park for that north end, where the dog park and the playground and
Okay.
restroom, and
and it's going to wrap around the building there, or I mean,
it'll come around to parking. And then on the south side of the northeast side, you would have additional parking.
one more thing. When the construction begins,
Mhm.
what there are animals out there. And I know that there's a lot of folks in the area that are concerned that, particularly coyotes,
Mhm.
Unless you want to call it Coyote Park, we got to do something about the coyotes and have that addressed. Is there any plan in?
We've reached out to try to get, because we have coyotes going in other parks too. It's not just there. It's in Sugar Sand. It's over in Hidden Valley. It's everywhere.
Really?
And they're going into, playgrounds at 10 a.m. And
Ooh.
so there's a problem, but nobody will come and address them unless they're an apps that basically, I guess they're waiting for somebody to actually get bid or something like that, but they won't. The best thing is they point us to a YouTube video where you can learn how to scare them away. I'm not going to reenact it here because we've had plenty of laughs about it, but there's nobody will go out to do anything until they are, I would consider it a nuisance at this point when they're walking on playgrounds at 10 a.m., but the wildlife, they do not consider that
Right.
a problem yet.
Thank you all.
Regina, am I on? Is it on? Okay. Regina Eklund, 5201 Northwest Second Avenue. Did you get it? Okay. I was going to ask about the Jeffrey Street extension. So I'm glad you talked about that, because I think that's going to be fairly important that be figured out and decided, because the racquetball center that you're planning on building needs access. So sounds like that's kind of all going to happen at the same time. I understand that you're probably working on the racquetball center because it's sort of a long process to get that done. Again, you've heard me say this before, and I'm going to say it again tonight. Let's step up the golf. I realize it's not in the plan until 2026. I play on a women's golf league. We've been forced to play out at Boca Dunes now. They've been very accommodating to us, but I'd really like to bring that golf league back into Boca on the east side, where a lot of our people are from. One thing that I get, one question that I get a lot is, where is a driving range we can go to? And honestly, there really aren't any. The one at the Palm Beach course, you hit the balls, you at the driving range into the water. It's not a very realistic setting. And the new Boca course on Congress, the driving range is really not adequate. So that driving range is going to be very important, really critical to the game of golf, and it will be very well used. I have no doubt about that. The other thing, just going to throw this out there, and I'd like you to consider it. I'm not sure why we would even want to change the name from Ocean Breeze. Ocean Breeze has been a good name. Some people might think it may have a negative connotation because of the condition of the golf course at the very end, which is sad. But I think Ocean Breeze kind of is a great name, descriptive. It kind of sums up the location. We do get an ocean breeze. We're not on the ocean, but we do get an ocean breeze. So I'd like to throw that out there and have that name considered to remain. I think that's it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Oh, hold on.
Hi, Amanda Mintz, and I live at 541 Northwest 54th Street, Boca Vista. So it's right behind Boca Chica in the single family homes. So I'm here to learn more about what we're doing with the Boca Chica golf course. I didn't see the approved plans. It's kind of hard to find online. Like I've called a few times. So what exactly is going there? It's going to be a golf course and like a general park for the public?
Whole property will be a park. We can, if you give us your email, we'll send you the conceptual master plan.
Okay.
Right now, we're only focused on the east side. So the west side is where the golf course and some additional trails and other facilities will be. Right now, we're building the east side because the west side has a bond on it. It's complicated.
Okay.
But we're starting with trails on the east side, a racket sports facility, dog parks and playgrounds and some picnic shelters and things like that. It's very passive, mostly
Nice.
passive, but we'll get a copy of that too if you just leave your email here.
Okay, and is it going to be bringing any like revenue towards the city? Are you going to be monetizing it with
No.
any restaurants or?
We are not going to be, we're hoping that the racket sports facility will help offset some of those costs. But that's the only thing we have right now on the east side.
Okay, and then also on the east side, is there going to be like a community building where you could do some type of like indoor yoga or have like a camp for the kids?
That's something that we're looking at for the west side with like an
Okay.
aqua center, but right now we're just on the east side. It's very, there's less happening on the east side.
Okay, so east side is going to be developed first.
Correct.
So when is it going to be finished?
Okay, that's a great question. So the design process is a 12 to 18-month process, and that gets us to construction drawings. We have to go through once we have designs done and we have a pretty good sketch of everything and we think we know what sizes and how much parking we need, we go through this site plan approval process with the city. I'm not sure if anybody's gone through that process. We're going through it now with Patry pickleball facility. It's a long process. It's not an easy process. I'd love to give you a timeline on that. It changes as you go. So that could be another 6 months to get through site plan approval before we would go out to bid and start the building process. So
Okay.
we're like 2 years before you'll
2
see
years.
anything building. Yeah.
Okay, and then for the west side, like when is that going to get approved and when would that start?
Okay, so the west side is still technically owned by the city of Boca. We have a bond with the city of Boca that we're paying out. So the bond has some restrictions as far as what we can do out there. And so what this board is directed right now is we're going to try to plan to pay off that bond. The earliest we could pay it off is 2027. So we would work to pay off the bond, and then that kind of frees up what we can do with the property as far as getting development, as far as having a restaurant at your golf course and things like that. That would help
Okay.
make the property more financially stable. So the goal right now is to pay off that bond and then work on developing that side. So that's a longer process.
Okay, very cool. So that's when somebody just brought up, that's where the golf would be.
That's what we
And-
planned on with a golf amenity.
Okay,
Yes.
so one side's more of like park, the other side's gonna be golf course. And when, like, how would a developer be able to like submit a bid to like build something there.
So we put out, like right now we have the RFP for the racket sports facility and we put
What's
that
that
out.
mean?
That's an RFP. We're looking for somebody who wants to come in and design, finance, build and operate a racket sports
finance it too.
facility over on the east side. We didn't.
For the west side.
This is just for the east side. The west side, we'll do one for the golf course, but we have not put anything.
okay.
We can't do that on the west side because of the bond. So we can't put anything out there where somebody's going to come in and make money like that because it jeopardizes the bond and
I
it's
see.
it's a very complicated thing. But we can share more details with you off on that too. Some
Okay, so the first thing I should just get on the email list and then I could
definitely get on our
probably
email
some
list.
more questions and answers.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else here? Nope. Live?
Good evening, Michael Simmons. Please unmute, state your name and address. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Michael Simon. My address is 1 North Ocean Boulevard, apartment 106, Boca Raton. I'm the president of the Boca Raton Bicycle Club. And when the mountain bike trail or gravel trails are being proposed, I would suggest that somebody from Miller Leg reach out to the club. We have some valuable input, I think, from our members. There's several hundred members who would be interested in seeing this trail developed. And that's why I appeared. So thank you.
Michael, can you just write your email in the comments here so we can
Uh,
get you connected with them?
Okay,
I've just his email is good.
thank you.
Good evening, Robert. Please unmute, state your name and address. You have 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Robert Ducate, 5351 Northwest 3rd Terrace, Boca Raton. And I know I attended a couple of different Miller Leg presentations regarding different amenities, proposals for different activities on the property. And I was wanting to find out how many people voted for a mountain bike trail on the east side of the property. Hello?
Yeah, Mr. Duquette, I don't have the
Yes.
survey in front of me, but trails and trails for bikes and walking trails were the #1 thing requested on this survey, as well as the city's needs assessment. And mountain biking is just an added facet of these trails. It's not going to be most of the trails are for walking and multi-use, but they're also for hiking too. Like it's one of the things that people have requested more of in the city on all the surveys.
No, so to be clear, there was no mountain bike trail actually ever proposed in any of the public meetings. And I also want to point out that a lot of people have used other mountain bike trails such as Markham Park in Broward County, as well as similar trails in Deerfield Beach at Quiet Waters Park, in which case there are no residential housing around those trails. Furthermore, in the area of Boca Chica, especially along Northwest 2nd Avenue, there are no bike lanes for these bikers to get to this location. I think that's an important safety concern that should be brought up, and the city should address if they're thinking about approving this. Having bicycle riders on mountain bikes going down the sidewalk where they're primarily pedestrians walking would not be consistent with the safety of the community. So, and lastly, who is going to operate the mountain bike trails to make sure there's not motorcycles, ATVs, and other such vehicles on these mountain bike trails?
Still designing. We haven't started dealing with the operations yet, Mr. Duquette.
Because I know, as you probably have heard, we already have people with mountain bikes and ATVs going around your property already. And so right now, based upon what we've seen so far, you haven't been able to control that issue. Hopefully, you'll be able to do better when you get this proposal, if this goes through completed. But again, I'm not directly impacted, but I can tell you, I think from a safety standpoint, on Northwest Second Avenue, not having a bike trail, a bike path, or any access easily for bicyclists to get to this location is certainly a safety concern. There's not even any type of bicycle area on that road for bicyclists to safely get to this property. So I think safety is really an issue that needs to be addressed before you go further. Thank you.
Mr. Duquette, actually, this park will be connected to El Rio Trail. And most mountain bikers do drive their bikes to the facility that they will ride at. So, what? On. Anybody else? No.
Say, the city has been talking a lot about moving along without cars, about using bicycles. So I know that they're addressing things throughout the city. So I do think it's going to take time for the city to get there, but I think that they really do want to make it a safer place for cyclists and walkers in general.
Okay. We are going to close the Boca Chica master plan update and move on to Patrick Park pickleball RFP.
And I lost my notes. All right, commissioners, in your agenda packets on page 6 is the RFP for an operator of the Patrick Park pickleball facility, which I had mentioned earlier. We're in the process of site plan approval with the city. So it's we have some time to pick an operator. We also have the city as our current operator of the tennis facility. This RFP, I kind of modeled after the same one we did for the James A. Rutherford Community Center, where we have the YMCA operating out of it now. There is one note that I'd like to make mention of that I would update as it was presented to you, changing in the insurance section, replacing personal injury with bodily injury in those insurance terms. After a conversation with Commissioner Rollins, I'm open for any other edits or suggestions from the board.
Ready? Steve?
You have to come up with a due date for the RFPs. And we also have to come up with dates, if I'm not mistaken, for
if you guys give me the length of time you want it advertised for, I'll make those dates based on when we can get it in the paper.
Okay. I'd like to see 60 days. I'm speaking just for myself.
And how many days did we have for the community center with that RFP?
I think it was around 45 days or so, maybe a little more than 30. Somewhere around there.
Time.
Make a motion that we extend the RFP date for 60 days for the proposals to be received.
Commissioner Ernst? Commissioner Engel? Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang? Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Approval of payroll and invoices, Craig?
I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $1,711,386.81.
Commissioner Ernst? Commissioner Engel? Commissioner Rollins? Commissioner Vogelsang?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Any reports and discussion?
Sure, as I sent an update out last week, I just want to update everybody in the public as well who's interested in the Gumbo Limbo Tower. The Gumbo Limbo Tower is a project that everybody's kind of been waiting on to see it happen. It looks like it's going to start construction July 3rd and anticipated to finish in February of 2024. So we may have a tower at Gumbo Limbo again, which is super exciting news. Also, everybody's been waiting for us to have a joint meeting with City Council, and that is now on the books for August. The joint meeting would be scheduled at 6:30 to start because the city has a CRA meeting the same day and a workshop meeting. So this would be 6:30 at the 6500 building on, of course, I didn't put the date here, but I think it's August 21st. I should have that forever embedded in my brain until then. August 21st will be the joint meeting with City Council. We don't have to talk about agenda topics tonight, but it's something to think about. For a future meeting, we can talk about that. And it also coincides with one of our regularly scheduled meetings. I would suggest that we consider either having a meeting early from 5:15 and ending it at 6 so we could make our way to the 6500 building, or having a meeting, moving our meeting from that Monday to Tuesday so that you guys could then take action on anything that was discussed at that meeting. We have a meeting scheduled the 21st. We would need to.
I think it would be a good idea to have our meeting the next day, only because we're in budget season. And I don't know that an hour would be sufficient time prior to the joint meeting. So I'd be in favor of either moving it to Tuesday, the 22nd, or the following Monday, the 28th. I'm open to either one.
The 2nd or the 28th?
I would be in favor of the 28th, just because it's the 21st and 22nd are two back-to-back evening meetings, and I have enough of those. And
No, we have meetings because then we have another one on the 5th, I believe, right?
so be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, if the board wants to do it, yeah.
Right, so we have it on the 5th. Okay, for the 28th?
I'm good either way, Madam Chair, but that would be my preference, 28.
Okay. Hearing nobody opposed to the 28th, we'll do it on the 28th.
We voted on the 21st already.
There's consensus, that'll suffice.
Okay.
Anything else on your end? Okay.
Item this evening. As you all are aware, the legislature has been in session for the past number of weeks and months. They have completed their work. There are a number of bills that we've been reviewing for the district and monitoring. One in particular I wanted to bring to your attention. You may recall that House Bill 199, which referenced certain ethics training requirements for members of special taxing districts such as ours. The bill has been enrolled. It has passed the House and the Senate, both with approval. It is sitting on the governor's desk awaiting signature. We have every expectation that it will be signed, and effective January 1st of 2024, each elected local officer of independent special taxing districts will be required to receive 4 hours of ethics training on an annual basis. This is a rule that currently applies to elected municipal officials and elected county commissioners. This legislation will extend that to special taxing districts as well. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Question on that ethics course. Is that something that where you could, once before, you could log in and do it at your own convenience? Or, and I think at one time we had a meeting on sunshine law that you and Sam put together. So
And there are a number of different opportunities. There are online opportunities. We're obviously happy to come in anytime and provide the necessary training to ensure the requirements are satisfied. The Florida League of Cities, the Palm Beach County League of Cities also has various training opportunities, but there are online opportunities that'll satisfy that, Commissioner.
Our ethics training be any different than what's currently required of other elected officials?
No, it actually is the same training. Sunshine law, public records, both the state ethics and the statutory ethics and constitutional ethics.
Do all 4 consecutive hours, or could they, if you were to be here for a meeting, we could do 2 hours and then 2 hours the next meeting?
Annually. What you
Okay.
would do when you fill out your Form 1 each year, there's a box you would check on your Form 1 to certify you've completed the requirement for the prior year. 4 hours annually. I'm sorry? It's on there now, but it doesn't apply to you now. As of the 1st of January, 2024, it will also apply to special taxing district members.
Okay, commissioners. Steve, you want to go first?
All I have is I'm gratified to see the number of attendees tonight. Usually we're an echo chamber, but this is very nice. And I know a couple of you really don't need any encouragement to be here, but for the rest of you and for whoever is watching this online, please, we encourage you to attend. We encourage your input, good, bad, or indifferent. And I'm just happy to be looking at so many smiling faces tonight. Thank you.
I want to thank Raul and the pickleball folks that went to city council and sat through that long meeting. It's unfortunate timing, but true to your word, you did what you promised that you're going to do. And I know that there's at least one city council member that is a pickleball aficionado. So I'm thinking we'll have his support. And I know he's also tuned into the developmental issue that's bogged us down and going forward. So thank you very much, Raul and Art, for your perseverance. We'll get this done for you sooner than later, I hope.
I had the opportunity to take some out-of-town guests over to Ocean Strand and to Gumbo Limbo. Nobody at Gumbo Limbo had a clue except for Jim Miller about what's going on with pumps and piping. Would you update us, please, Brianne?
Sure. So the pipes and pumping project is not complete. Right now they're working on water testing issues and working to get the water quality to where it needs to be before they start pumping that into the tanks that are there. And that's the update that I've heard. They're working on a fix for that right now.
It was very interesting to see how few people were at Gumbo Limbo because of the sea turtle rehab, but the volunteers were still very enthusiastic and very informative. And I got to give them props for, just keeping the faith, and things will turn around and be back to normal.
I have nothing to report, so you're all done. Okay. Joanne.
Commissioner Engel. Commissioner Rollins. Commissioner Vogelsang. Commissioner Wright.
Yes. We are adjourned.